jargon is unfortunately still used to avoid directly stating that there is black African origin of the pharaohs, culture and race. In addition, after Tripalian deciphered the hieroglyphics in 1822, scholars who monopolized Egyptology were not scientists but classicists, historian, linguistic and humanists. So therefore, he's saying they haven't really got no right to be saying that because they weren't scientists. But they're quickly to say to you that, like buffoons like this, how do you think them man to get their funding? If they were supposed to write a book and start saying, yeah, Egypt was built by, he wouldn't be in Berkeley University. This is how they get their funding. These are the guys who are like PhD specialized. But, hold on a minute, this is lean shit, isn't it? Let me just do one thing. Give me a second. How's that?
Yeah.
Or did it make a difference?
You see the ball around.
Okay, cool. That's fine. I just wanted to make sure everything's in. Yeah, so you have to be aware of these guys here. Let me read it to show you what he says. Clarence Walker described, why is it showing on my screen like this? I can't even fucking see it. Clarence Walker described Afrocentrism as a form of totalitarianism and groupthink devoid of historical accuracy. So basically, Afrocentrism is a mythology that is racist, reactionary, and essentially therapeutic, writes Walker. It suggests that nothing important has happened in the black history since the time of the pharaohs and thus trivialized the history of the black Americans. Afrocentrism places an emphasis on Egypt that is, to put it bluntly, absurd. So he's saying that all of those groups that are saying that they come from Egypt, he's saying that's absurd. I mean, this is a PhD scholar. But today I'm going to show you that this is wrong. Let's go on. I've showed you this picture before. I went into it a bit last week. What does it mean? Do you know who took this picture? I've told you that last week. Do you know who took this picture? This guy, I've told you before, committed suicide when he finished taking this picture. Because this bird, as they said, is standing by to eat this child. Right? But in Egypt, we call that bird mutnecha. You can see the symbol here. I already gave you my take on it. Do you understand what I'm saying? The guy, when he took this picture and he went back to New York, he committed suicide. This is what he wrote. This bird is standing by to eat the starving child. This picture was voted as the best journalistic photograph many years ago, and the photographer later committed suicide because of his emotional breakdown attached to his own work. The suicide note he left behind is litany of nightmares, the dark vision and Clutch's attempt at autobiography, self-analysis and explanation. All right, I'm not going to go through all of this here, but what he was saying, he was haunted by the memory of killing on corpses and angry pain of starving or wounded children, of trigger-happy madmen, often police, or often killers, executioners. And then this, I have gone to join Ken, and if I'm that lucky. So he's basically committed suicide, left a note because of what he actually saw in Africa. Now this is deep. But when I look on this picture, as I said to you before, if you know anything about the vulture, they used to think that these animals were all females because they're caring. Do you understand what I'm saying? To me, this is a sign that we need to look at, because this was voted like one of the best pictures. If it was, then what does that story say? The story is saying she's looking at her son, who was the original man, like, where is his parents? Where is the baby's parents? And from you start seeing this kind of thing happen in Africa, this is coming to London. Because once you get rid of the salt of the earth, you can't function. Because Africa is still the breadbasket for Europe. Let's see what they say about the vulture. Believe it or not, the vulture is a symbol of motherhood because these often malign creatures are impeccable caretakers of their young. Indeed, the Egyptian hieroglyphic for mother is the same as vulture. Further, the Egyptian mother goddess Mut, see what they call her? So that is called Mut. Mut is Mut nature. This is where they get the word mother nature from, all right? Is often depicted with the vulture in ancient art of the culture. The Egyptians observed the culture as an excellent mother to such an extent was thought all vultures were females because all of them were caring. I'm going to run through this kind of quickly because I know you'll have seen some of this. Do you remember this episode? You remember this? Do you remember it? What was going on here? What happened? Because what did she say? Why was she apologising?
The statement she made where she said black people love to
Divide and conquer. Do you think, who thought she was being racist? You thought she was being racist in what she said? Let's talk.
I think that was a personal opinion.
You think it was a personal opinion?
Her personal opinion.
Okay. But they crucified her literally for it, all right? All right, let's look into this. Miss Abbott became Britain's... You know, I really don't know why I'm not seeing this like this. Miss Abbott became Britain's first black woman MP in 1987 and was campaigning for racial equality and diversity, but she has been no stranger to race row. She sparked through when she described Mr. Cameron and Chancellor George Osborne as posh white boys. Is that being racist? Is that being racist?
No malice in it.
Okay, okay. So, all right. So she said posh white boys. And when she campaigned for the Labour leadership, there was protests that after she suggested West Indian mothers like her fought harder for their children than those from other cultures. Is that racism? No? Okay. But on that programme that she comes on, he grilled her over this statement that she made. Do you remember that? I can't remember that guy's name. And yeah, he was grilling her to the point where she was going, I don't want to talk about it no more, I don't want to talk about it. Okay. It came as she defended sending her son James to a 12,700-year private school. The move had irritated fellow left-wingers, especially as she previously criticised Harriet Harman, now Deputy Labour leader, for doing the same thing. So, in 2003, research at the University of Chicago and MIT research of studying involving 5,000 fake resumes that found that 10% of those featuring Caucasian-sounding names were called back compared to just 6.7% of those featuring black-sounding names. So therefore, on their applications, they can tell you if your name sounds too black, like Tamika, Aisha, yeah, then they can tell that you're black. And hence, they don't need to call you back. Is that racism?
Yeah.
That's the highest form of racism you can get. And it's not like this is not new. This has been going on from time, because when black people were buying houses, there was a program one time when they showed you that they were using the applications. Who is that? Is that someone outside there? Okay, so it says that, however, it's important to note that because racial minorities of the US have spent their lifetimes in societies that has traditionally valued white over them, they are also likely to believe in the superiority of whites. It's also worth noting that in response to living in racial strife societies, people of color sometimes complain about whites. Typically, such complaints serve as a coping mechanism to withstand racism rather than as anti-white bias. Even when minorities are actually prejudiced against whites, they lack the institutional power to adversely affect white lives. So what is that saying? It's saying that we cannot be racist because we have no power to be racist. Do you understand what I'm saying? So how did they jump? This is what I don't like with people, because when you're discussing things like with Diana, they're like, oh, she was making a racist remark. Everything to us is racist without us understanding what racism is. Let me go into it. It says here, Diane Abbott forced to apologise in racism row, claiming white people love playing divide and rule. Was she wrong? She wasn't wrong. So how is it then that it became a racist row? And we gobbled this up because we start thinking, yeah, it was a bit racist. You talk to some black people and they say, yes, she did say. How is it when, like I just told you before, she's telling you the truth, isn't it? When you went into Africa, even a guy, what's that program that came on the other day? When that guy was showing you how they went into this African country and they were dividing the two leaders. And at the same time they had the two leaders fighting, they were reaping the land. Till the two leaders find out, hold on, these people come here and they're stealing our stuff. Then they start getting together and started kicking them out. But that was divide and rule. So if she's saying it, how can it be based on racism? It's not. And that's where we go wrong. When Trevor Phillips said black males are more likely to be stopped just because they are black males, nobody jumped on his back. And he knows that this is true. He's been saying it for a while, that we are most likely to be stopped for being black than any other race. How comes nobody jumped on that? Again, Despite winning applause for her work with disadvantaged black children, over the many years Mrs. Abbott has been at the centre of a race war before she described Mr. Clegg and David Cameron as two posh white boys from the home country. During the Labour leadership contest leading to the race Rael comment of that time, she had previously attacked the party rules for leadership candidates as being drawn from the narrowest gene pool in history. This is what she said. Now that was touching on verge. Claiming that even Barack Obama would not have been allowed to run under similar restrictions. This is what she's saying, because the institution that she's in, she knows it's racist. So Nick Clegg says Diane Abbott has been stupid and crass. Deputy Prime Minister Nick Clegg lambasted the Shadow Health Ministry for her tweet claiming white people love playing divide and rule. This is how they shut you up all the time. You can't say nothing without them saying that you're racist. Here it is, Mr. Abbott, Miss what? Miss Abbott was what? By who? Her master, right? Mr. Maliban, right? He must be Jesus to be rebuking her. During a telephone call which she took while being interviewed on Sky News, during the interview she was sticking to her earlier line that her remark had been taken out of context. However, she broke off to answer the call from her boss. Did you see that live on Sky? When he called her, when she was being interviewed? Did you see it? You never saw it? So on Sky, they were talking to her about the comment, and at the same time her phone started ringing. And she answered it. And then the reporter's kind of like still talking to her, and she's going, hold on a minute, hold on. And then she walked off. But then they said it was, what's her boss, Ed Miliband? Yeah? He called her. That's the phone call she was taking. Yeah? And this is her face afterwards. Pictures speak 1,000 words.
Look at her eyes in the first picture.
You understand? Because when he spoke to her, don't think like I said, he'd come on the phone and he will say, Diana, that was inappropriate. When he phones her, he will say to her, listen, you black bitch. You best get on the phone, make your apologies before you fucking lose your constituency. That's how they talk to them. Because you can see it written all over her face. Do you think that was a nice conversation he was having with her? But this is the price you pay. But a lot of people don't know that Diana was involved in a lot of DNA, trying to get black males' DNA off the database. This is one of her works. The DNA profile of nearly 4 in 10 black men in the UK are on police national database, compared with fewer than 1 in 10 white men, according to figures compiled by The Guardian. So, I mean, that's deep. You're talking about 4 in 10 black men are on police database, compared with white, and we are the less minority in this country. Huh?
So that 4 in 10 will make up a larger figure than that that's in 1 in 10 with white.
That's right.
Proportion to white.
That's right. So you can see, this is the racist practice. I mean, this is from The Guardian. So who's really practicing racism? Civil liberty groups and representatives of the black community said this offered evidence that the database reinforced by racial biases in the criminal justice system. The Home Office denied this, saying most of the DNA came from the people who had been charged and convicted of crimes. Let me say something to you. Why do they want to commit, why do you think so many black guys get stopped and searched and your name put on the database? Because you have to understand that you're a business. Every time you get arrested and you go to court, you've been charged, you're paying the courts. You're a business. 75% of black males, their DNA are on the database in this country alone. Now, if that's not racism, let me read this. A lot of people like to bring out this book here, Black Law's Dictionaries. Black Law Dictionary is good, but when you read the commentary of the laws of England, Sir Blackstone, this is a different book. Let me read what he said, part of it, part of the law. That's why, I don't know how much of you was watching Question Time last